Hello and welcome to the Things I See podcast. This is episode number 9. We are joined with a beautiful guest. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Uniity Verse.
Awesome. So my friend Unity happens to also have a podcast. They had an original podcast a while ago, but they've restarted or made a new one basically, and feel free to talk a bit about it. I've done an episode with it. Absolutely love your podcast.
Thank you. So my current project is called Patterns Anonymous, and my podcast, currently the project is about identifying the patterns that we have as beings and being able to shift and change and grow through that. And the project that was before was called The Collective Cup. I rebranded because it was during a different time, and it was not quite the project I had imagined it to be, and it just felt like it was time to shift things a little bit. But yeah.
And I'm very happy I've been able to be around since you've shifted. You've been doing really cool stuff since and before, but it really is an amalgamation of all the previous things.
Thank you so much, Clarity. I'm really happy that you've been able to be a part of my journey. You've been a really big help, actually, and I value that heavily. And it's nice to have somebody around that gets it. You
Yeah,
know?
it's we gotta stick close. It's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you guys are interested, feel free to go check out her podcast after this episode, or even right now. I did an episode on it, and it turned out superb. I absolutely loved how it all went and how it all kind of wrapped itself in a nice circle on the topic basis. Like it would feel like it would go off track, and it would perfectly wrap around every time.
Every time.
Every time. Awesome. So today's topic is absolution, and I am going to do kind of a meditation to start. I'm going to be talking about the essence of what meditation I wish I could do with everyone. It's just, it requires a lot more trance building, but in essence, I'm studying and creating ways to replicate the feeling of absolution, or like ego death, something that is found a lot in psychedelic journeying, shamanic journeying, just in general with evolution. So, to get started, I'm not going to do the full absolution meditation I'm planning on developing, but we're just going to take a few moments before we talk about the topic today to kind of sit and think about what makes up our being. And really sitting and thinking and going as fine-tuned as you can. Understanding the very substance that makes up our eyes, for example. Trying to feel on a deeper level what they're made of. The fibers, the cells, the particles. If it helps to close your eyes to focus in more, please do so. Imagine your breath in your chest as it fills with air. What are other ways you can feel that air? What are ways you can connect to it? As you breathe it in, it almost becomes a part of you, and you a part of it. If your feet are on the earth or flat on the ground, feel that connection between the earth and your feet. Feel where that separation begins, and feel where the separation isn't fully there. The concept that we are the earth that supports us. If you can imagine wind crossing against your skin, imagine each and every one of your cells got carried away in that wind, but as the wind itself, flowing freely, And the concept is, as you begin to let go of your body, as you allow yourself to let go from this area to become something else, in that absolution, you can allow other things out. You can work through things that our body holds on to, but when we can become the elements, when we can become the cosmos, when we can become the ocean itself, we're able to shift, contort, turn, move, and alchemize in ways we normally couldn't. And the goal with this absolution experience is to provide therapeutic relief, wholeness, and compassion in all people. So, allowing ourselves to come back awake, almost as if we're stepping up a staircase back into our waking bodies, back, eyes open and awake. So, I know that you might not always be super high visual leaning. I'm actually not quite sure, but did you happen to get any good sensory experiences in those few moments you sat with yourself?
This time it was not as I guess I'm not sure what word to use for it, but I didn't feel it was more like I was seeing one overall color. I was seeing the color red, which could just be for my eyelids, but
Right.
and I could just I don't know, I just felt like air. The second you started describing the wind, that's when I started to feel it a little bit more. It's
Okay.
like being able to imagine myself moving with something. It's like I could feel the breeze across my skin, and then as you're describing to move into that space of being part of the molecules, it that helped me a little bit more like relax into it. But at first I was like, how do I oh god. I don't meditate a lot. So that's
Right.
probably why, but
Yeah, it's and it definitely isn't something I expect a big reaction out of without the proper outer facilitation, because
yeah.
uh, my end goal is to be able to bring it into a therapeutic space, or possibly
Mm-hmm.
even a retreat space, where just purely through an act of trance, letting go, trust, the right environment, the right people at the right place at the right time, people can experience, and without psychedelics, that feeling of full absolution, that self beyond the self.
I believe in your capabilities, and I really honestly hope that I am there when you start to like test these theories and like
Well,
actually implement
I'm
it.
testing it actually this weekend on one of my clients, because I've had them for 4 appointments. So if they're interested, I'm going to test this out on them and see what I can work with, how I can guide it better. And, because as a hypnotherapist, after the 4th appointment, I'm able to get them a lot deeper than the first appointment. We've built a rapport. They trust me. We've opened up a lot. And getting them to open up so much and getting them to be in this trusted, safe environment, I feel I'll be able to do it. Like, really, really guide them into whatever it is. But it's like, as you said, the wind one definitely matched you more. So I'm thinking of like the proper cognitive work to like ask them, like, hey, what's your favorite like outdoor space, or like what do you like weather wise, stuff like that, to kind of build something they would want.
I love that. You genius. I love it.
Thank you, I'm flattered.
It's just the
And
truth.
I'm
Anyway.
really excited to share it, because it, it's not even just about the absolution part, it's the rebirth from it. Once you can get someone fully to release into an idea, then they have to re-emerge from that idea, rebuilding their form. And all of this was inspired by a mushroom trip I had recently.
Mm.
And in this mushroom trip, it was on the most recent full moon, and at first it felt like my body was turning to ash as I was laying on my side, but then it started to feel more like sand, and I felt all my skin, all my muscles, and then all my bones kind of just fade and crumble into sand. And the entire time I'm just letting it. I'm well cognizant that I could fight it, but I'm just letting it, just allowing myself to become sand.
Oh,
And
that is so cool.
when I say become sand, I mean I don't feel my nerves, I don't feel my body anymore. All I feel is the sense of self is billions of particles of sand. And I feel myself in each and every particle. And as I'm sitting as this pile of sand in this visual space, this deep, absolved state, I can feel how sand blows around, how some parts of me leave and blow away and some parts build back up. And this was about an hour of this experience, of experiencing this absoluted state. And there was a moment where I felt my inner child literally like wake up from the sand dune and like stand up out of it and move around. And after about the hour, I could feel slowly but surely myself forming back again. And it all started with my spine. I could only feel my spine. It's like the rest of my body didn't exist yet, but I could feel my spine. And then I could feel my rib cages hardening in the sand until my whole body rebuilt its form. And as it was rebuilding its form, I could feel the sand like falling off of my face, off of my chest, off of my body. And I felt like 10 pounds lighter as this new bodied version of me. Like, I feel like my face was carrying so much useless weight. And my friend I did it with said it looked like I was morphing through that whole experience. Like, it just looked like my face was shape shifting. It's by far the most healing medicinal experience I've had on mushrooms, and I want to, using hypnotherapy, facilitate that for people in trance. I want to facilitate that absolution and rebirth experience.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm excited.
I just love hearing you like describe that. Like what a wonderful experience, and to like inspire you to like implement that into your hypnotherapy. Like, whoo, what a wonderful
Right.
experience.
And
I love that.
yeah, it felt so I was so conscious through it. It reminded me of just how hypnosis is. Like, I feel and think as this sand, but I am simply just the sand still. It's so my mind is just not in my body anymore, and that's the overarching topic and goal of like the concept of letting go. And yeah, so I want to open this up to a question I have for you, specifically if there are any major rebirth experiences that have stood out to you. Of course, there's always like a this is when I awakened kind of moments, and we have awakening after awakening after awakening. But are there any that like just hit the nail in the hammer especially well? The nail in the coffin.
I think the weirdest one that I think I've actually already told you this one, so I don't know. Do you want me to reshare
Yeah,
just for the
absolutely.
podcast?
Let's hear it.
Okay. So I think the most intense experience I had was at a music festival. I have been, and for the listeners to understand me better, I have been on what I would consider a twin flame journey. And I had an experience while I was alone in the car at Wacan in Arkansas, Arkansas. I was just sitting by myself and I had the experience of sexual energy. And what I mean by that is I had a buildup in my chakra, which is the sacral chakra, and I felt the feeling of, in human experience, sexual energy. Like it was pretty intense. And I didn't know what to do with it, so I thought to myself, how can I change this? How can I shift it? And what can I transform it into? And then I started visualizing. And I feel like this visual came to me. It wasn't like something that I had already known, because I
Right.
don't think I've ever had this experience previous to that moment, at least not to this extreme. But
Mm-hmm.
I saw two snakes swirling together up through my chakras, and as they went through each chakra, I saw energy shifts, and it kind of felt like I was in my body, but I wasn't in my body, and I could feel everything around me as if I was breathing with my surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
And as the snakes reached the top to my crown chakra, I put my head back and I could see a spiral of eyes. And it looks a lot like there's a Alex Gray painting that he did of what I'm describing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
literally like the flower of life, but like eyes forever out. I
I
think
think
you
I
know what I'm
know.
talking
I
about.
I mean, I can't say I know the exact piece you're talking about, but a lot of Alex Gray stuff comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because it is something that is a shared experience with other people, maybe in that state of mind, he's used it in his art a lot. And I didn't really understand it until I had that moment. Like I've
Right.
seen a little bit of Alex Gray's paintings in some of my experiences, honestly, but um that one was just really intense, because like afterwards, after I had that experience, for days afterwards, it felt like I was in this afterglow where like
Mm-hmm.
I was seeing and experiencing a whole different version, or like I was seeing reality at a different speed than the people around me, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It was lasting.
That is insane. And
Yeah.
I love that you brought up the twin flame experience because a lot of the time, like in my own experience with my twin flame journey, it's so cosmic and not of just this lifetime that it rips you out of your ego. It provides that same sense of that absolution of just,
Mhm.
I don't know. I felt, I can't even say I felt high when I first met my twin flame. It was, I felt cosmic. I felt like something in me started to stretch out into the heavens themselves, and I was becoming them as that was happening. Like,
I felt
yeah.
that on such a deep level. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I got like a whole set of visuals when I first met them, and one of the key ones is it was two kind of balls of energy, and they were drawing a helix, just both drawing spirals of opposite time of each other. And from a 2D perspective, it would show as these two orbs touching and getting really close, and then them getting further away, and them getting really close and further away. And
I can visualize it.
every time me and this person would get close, these orbs would be close, and every time after we would always just end up further apart again, until this one point we started like started happening faster, and we were hitting this singularity point. And we hit this singularity where we were just, oh, finally within each other's arms. Oh, so perfect. And then from the singularity, it shoots out the other end of now the gap is growing bigger between us. So we'll meet, and then there's a gap, and then we'll meet, and at some point there's like a break in that, a splitting of the two where we're no longer bound. But that's like one of the big visuals I would get, like some cosmic tune of twin flame stuff, just some pattern that just was there, some perfect reflection. Yeah.
That's really cool, and also kind of sad. I'm like listening to you, my heart is breaking, but it's also a good thing. It's a good thing to
Right.
be on your own journey and looking within, and it's not
Yeah.
it's not like you the twin flame journey is not about the other person,
No.
because they are you. They are you. It's like you an exact copy in another life on the same timeline decided, let's do work simultaneously. And sometimes it just doesn't. Every
Right.
twin flame venture is different, like.
Absolutely. And with me and this person, it was like we were perfect opposites in all the funniest, weirdest ways. It was too flawlessly aligned that way. But
I felt that.
you know, it's it's just part of that cosmic experience that comes with absolution. I went crazy over this person because of that absolution experience. It's such a powerful sensation to be beyond yourself.
I felt that. What other things did you see? You said you saw a couple of different things.
Yeah, so the one thing that I will never be able to forget, like I may not always have it in the forefront of my mind. I don't, but one thing I can never like forget is the first time I saw them, the literal stars I could see in their eyes. The actual stars. Like it was actually like I was peeking into like the heavens. It was really crazy. And it just adds to the entire cosmic sensation of all of it, and it set me on such a big journey. And that whole journey was just its own form of rebirth. It was a rebirth to meet this person, and then another rebirth, just that whole experience me and this person went through. Oh my goodness.
I mean, that's the purpose of the twin flame journey, is to like have a rebirth of who you are, because same but different.
Yeah.
But when I first like collided with this person, the first time I met them, I didn't see the stars until later. Like I saw a galaxy in that person's eyes, but maybe it wasn't their eyes. It was like we went to a different atmosphere,
Yeah.
and I witnessed what looked like the galaxy, but that happened after months of bonding. The first time I met them, didn't really think much of it. I was like, "Oh, he's a cutie." But like he had a really strange response. Like I will never forget that. Like
Hmm.
it was like seeing it was like watching someone see a ghost,
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
It's
Like,
that I've seen you before look kind of look.
yes.
Yeah.
Like, who are you and why are you
Yeah.
important to me?
Yeah. That. Exactly that.
Yeah. It's like he already knew who I was, and I in that moment I was like, okay, that was kind of weird. Anyways.
Right. It's it's both off-putting and really cool.
Hmm.
That's the twin flame experience. Off-putting but kind of cool.
Literally. But you know what? I'm so grateful that that happened,
Hmm.
because like
Yeah.
the complete transformation of self that I've experienced, and I'm sure even just listening to your story, it sounds like you've experienced, even though you've been transforming at a rapid pace in this lifetime. It's crazy how far you've gotten at where you're at the age you're at. That is crazy. But
Thank
like,
you.
what a transformative experience in general.
Oh
And it's
God, yeah.
like I don't even know who the, like 3 years ago when this happened, when that started, I don't even know who that person is anymore.
Oh man,
You
thinking to who
know?
I was back then, I I don't think about who that person was anymore.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I
But
love
you know
younger
what?
me. But wow, crazy.
And like it did give the experience of absolution. I feel like my experiences became more rapid and more real and more tangible and like just like face whipping after that
Mm-hmm.
happened to me. You know,
Right.
it was like the universe was just like, I'm gonna hook you up and I'm just gonna electrocute you, okay? And it's just gonna happen. You don't really get a say, but like here it is. And then
Right.
after the electrocution comes, it's like, dude, I feel electrified. I feel like I have some work to do. I don't you know, like I don't know. That might sound crazy, but I don't care.
That's the whole point is we're all crazy just in our own ways, and when we can share that with others, then we can all be collectively crazy and cool and connected.
Yeah, it's more fun that way anyways.
Right. If being crazy means being connected, then let's connect. Let's go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So with absolution, are there any experiences you've had that were more on the psychedelic side or while under the influence of psychedelics that have stood out to you? Because especially sometimes they're still very self-guided with the use of psychedelics, but are there any that were just so out of your control? Just let go.
Oh, it's so many. Like I don't know. I mean, we talked about I talked about the Kali experience on my podcast with
Mm-hmm.
Nick. And like I want to talk about a different Kali experience this time,
Right.
just to kind of give a different flavor
Absolutely.
here. There was one time, so I've had plenty of like trips that have been completely taken over by the divine, where I don't really like, I'm still feeling like I'm in control or at least observing the experience. Like I don't
Right.
feel like I ever snap into like a different state. I don't know if you've seen people do that, but sometimes it happens where their spirit will go somewhere else and their ego's left in their body and it's like totally different experience. That's never happened to me, but I have had really interesting overlapping experiences where it's like my whole reality is shifted. But
Right.
I think something that stood out to me even more than being on the higher end of psychedelics is the afterglow. I had um a come down experience with Kali that really struck my heart chords in such a way. It was like a motherly experience. I had had a really intense experience with my friends on Liquid L at one point, and the come down after that, I was taking a shower. You know, I'm just like washing the experience off of me and just kind of existing and staring off and looking at the tile and just like letting the water fall down. And I just, I heard Kali kind of like sending me telepathic messages. Like, not
Mm-hmm.
really like talking to me, but it energetically talking to
Right.
me. And she was expressing like a vibration that helped me process the feelings that I've had about my mother for such a long time. Where it was like I had always kind of felt like I didn't get to have the connectivity with my mother that I would like to, and that's that I'm working on in the current time. But at that time, it was not at the place where it is now. And
Mm-hmm.
she kind of stepped in and she was like, "Hey, I love you. Let me give you that motherly energy that you have been wanting and wishing for. Let me give you that absolution of relaxing into this moment with me." And I just kind of let her in and I ended up sobbing. At some point when I got out of the shower, I was on the floor, hands and knees, hand like palms on the tile, knees on the tile, sobbing, and just like it was probably one of the most transformative moments for me because I needed that. I needed that moment of feeling like these hurtful things that have just been sitting in the back of my mind about motherly energy were now like healed by some source that I still didn't know very much about at that time.
Right,
And that was after I
especially
had met her, you know? So it was like, I was like, who is this being and why does she love me so much? And it just, like, it made my heart, like, break in such a life-changing way, if that makes
hmm
sense.
yeah,
You know?
absolutely. It it definitely is the most magical when you know the least about it. When you just get to experience something like that, it's the less you know, the more miraculous it is. Sometimes I would say,
Oh yeah. I was
yeah,
like confused and sad and happy and just like, wow. It's just like it created such a miracle, like magic.
yeah,
That's what I would consider magic to really be. You know,
yeah.
it's like that wonderful, unknown, loving energy that's just there.
hmm
You know, and Kali is just one depiction of many different forms of the same love.
Right, and everyone has some connection to that love, some archetypal bond. Absolutely.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
We're made of that stuff, I'm just saying.
Yeah, we are made of the same dust that makes the gods. We are made of the same energy. We are all
I'm,
interlinked, even if we are not characterized the same.
I'm sorry. I think the Discord had like a hiccup and then
Oh,
it like
you are all
I
good.
didn't realize. I apologize.
I was just saying we are made up of the same dust as gods are, and just how connected we are to the divine love no matter what. We're all connected to divinity. We are all divine. Not everyone cares to express divinity, but we are all divine. We all have some divine connection. And especially when you can drop people without that divine connection into absolution, it creates a tether between them and the lack of them, the things that aren't them, the unknown, you know?
And the unknown used to be so scary. But
It,
I feel
it
like
still is.
it is. You're right. It is. And I
And
don't know if
it's perfect you bring it up because I wanted to transition this over into the types of absolution being absolution into something or absolution into nothing, the unknown, right? Essentially, for us to transform into something new, it requires the absolution, but absolution can sometimes come from a form of absence or dissociation or uh, lack, the void, the absolution into nothingness. And I'm sure you've experienced that before, yeah?
oh yeah.
Yeah. It's that shedding rather than becoming. And that's the interesting thing, because when you absolve into something else, you're still letting go of your body, but you're not letting go of parts of yourself. Whereas absolving into nothing is more lack of self that kind of develops. I was gonna say, do you have any examples of when absolving yourself, absolving into nothing, uh, helped you? Or do you have anything to say about how it might have helped you here to have the experience of what can also be called ego death rather than just absolution?
Mm. Sheesh.
That was
I
a bit of a
feel like
ramble question.
no, you're good. I'm trying to okay. So in my most recent journeys of kind of and to not worry about shame, but it is something that is a little touchy just because, it sucks. It sucks to be the guy that has been through the darkness, but it is something that everyone experiences. So it's okay to talk about it. And there have been breaking moments for me, especially recently. Like, now I'm fine. I'm in therapy. I'm good. I'm not doing tons of drugs. And I'm not trying to say that that is something that has been a large experience for me. It has been more so, there was a time just before where I'm at now where I had the absolution of feeling like I was shedding things at a rapid pace. And over weeks, months, not just one certain experience. And it's something that was happening in waking life where it was just like something would come up and I would immediately have to face it and decide, am I shedding this or keeping it?
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
am I facing it and being like, okay, do I need to keep this baggage or is it time to let go? And
Mm.
it felt like even if I wanted to hold on to it, no, it's going. It's going. Everything's gone, And so, like, things like drug addiction, gone. It's like I struggled with drug addiction for a long time, but this was a pivotal moment for me where I had to decide, is this something that I wanted anymore? Do I need drugs to disassociate from reality, or do I need better choices? And
Hmm.
so I feel like the ego death happens over time. Sometimes it's not always, drug induced. And I know
Oh
you know
yeah.
that, but for the people listening to the podcast, sometimes it's not a crazy idyllic experience. Sometimes it's literally just realizing in the moment that you have to let go. It's not serving you. Like at
Right.
least at least in my experience, that is all
Yeah.
I really have to say about it. Does that make sense, or do I just
Yes.
sound like I'm
No.
rambling?
Absolutely. I I've had such a important experience of not experiencing that purely on psychedelics, for example. Like every
Mhm.
time I would have an ego death on psychedelics, it was never alarming. It was never like some inner battle or a bad trip that would form. It would just I would just let go gladly. And it's because especially on psychedelics I tended to ego death into the environment, if that makes sense. Where
That does make sense.
yeah, there was one experience where this is when I was doing LSD completely solo in my room, and I was just sitting in my computer chair, and then suddenly, I don't remember falling asleep. I'm just suddenly shooting across the galaxies, like just through space, through emptiness, through stars, through all of this, just zooming by. And I feel myself as some cosmic traveler through all of this, but completely out of my body. But I was getting those experiences when all in my life I had were those empty, lacking experiences. It was the absolving into void and the dissociating that actually made me get addicted to acid for a while. It was the positive absolution where, since I used to have three personalities, all of them would be so dissociated, but with acid, it's like all three would wake up and be in the body at the same time. So,
Oh.
yeah, it was so powerful. It felt like I could finally be and do, and it felt crazy and cosmic. And in essence, it was absolving into a full version of myself, something at the time I wasn't yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love psychedelics. Like I'm not trying to encourage everyone to do them and always be safe.
I say
But
everyone should do them with the right guide and healer,
yes,
with someone who
cuz
knows how to administer and guide on that medicine. Yes.
exactly, because the person who gives it to you is kind of like that's the trip guide. That's the guy.
Yeah.
The person who distributes it to you is transferring their energy to you. So if they're calm, cool, and collected, and they know what they're doing, you're gonna have a far better experience. Well, also, the looping, I think, happens when there's resistance.
Yeah.
When the moment to alchemize the universe or you or God or whatever you
Hmm.
perceive it to be is like, hey, look at this thing. Are you going to shift it and alchemize it, or are you going to hold on to it? And when you don't know what to do and you resist, and there's that resistance to change, that's where the looping and the confusion happens. You
Right.
know, so like, don't do psychedelics unless you're ready to do that. It's not just for fun.
Yeah.
Like, it can be, but like, and I know you know this is for the people listening, but
Right.
like,
And that's one of the big things is when you can let go into it, it's all okay. But sometimes it really puts you up to some internal triggers or internal stressors. And,
oh yeah.
not everyone. I was so good at absolving through just personal detachment experiences. I never had that looping get bad. I never started looping because I would just let it go. But that incessant, just internal sense of uh, struggle to let go is what keeps you consciously in a loop when really we need to be we need to be less conscious. It's funny to think about. I do so much unconscious work for people, like subconscious. I hear so much about the conscious mind, but I think the conscious mind is a lot of the ego, and a lot of people are too about the conscious mind. I think absolution really is the way towards finding that balance. We're always too conscious. We need more time being absolved rather than involved.
I've been thinking about that a lot because, like, you've known me along my journey, and like, I'm a pretty paranoid and anxious person sometimes. And I think that being super conscious and aware, like, I feel like I can sense like a good radius around my body energetically, and like being able to observe that so well makes me hyper aware of things, which makes my ego come up with random stuff and attach it to stuff, which creates paranoia. So,
Right.
maybe maybe it's time to do a little more subconscious work, Unity.
Yeah, it's not easy work to do because it's subconscious work. It
Mhm.
involves it's such a beautiful journey when you're doing it on your own, but it's definitely a lot longer of a journey, and it's a lot more difficult. I'm so grateful for hypnotherapy to be a hypnotherapist. It's literally magic. It's really cool. I'm like way obsessed with it, especially with the concept of bringing in such psychedelic imagery, stuff that helps people absolve and provides healing on that deeper of a level.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's such a perfect profession for you. Like,
it,
girl.
it's it's funny because before I started hypnotherapy, I'm going to start school as a hypnotist, and in my mind, I still have this stereotypical view of a hypnotist. But all I'm convinced is that I'm going to be one of the coolest hypnotists ever. It's cool to actually look more into it and find the real grounded work of it, and like feel like I already kind of have a head start with my previous experience and be ready to just. It's cool to find the blend of psychology and magic, like creating magic for people, but like with a bit more science. It's so cool.
That is just so sick. That
Yeah,
is so sick.
it's it's magic, and I'm grateful to say I do magic all day every day. I am like always in a partially absolved state, and that's just connection, because I'm not absolving into nothing anymore. I'm absolving into everything. And with that, I am choosing to be connected to everything I am witnessing. And that's the power of absolution. It's realizing this is all you and it's all up to you and you get to do it all. It's magic to be one with everything. And not all the way. There's an ebb and flow, of course. But, yeah. So, here's to either doing psychedelics or me figuring out how to do it without them.
Yeah, I think psychedelics are like a good gateway place to start for a lot of
Oh, they're
people. Like,
great.
if I hadn't taken, psychedelics at a pretty, like, I think I was like 15, and that's not recommended for everybody. Like, I was in a different, like, you should not be doing psychedelics before your brain's developed.
Right.
But, I, of course, had those experiences, and I feel like it helped me a lot, because being a traumatized person while also being psychic and not really knowing how to deal with that, it was a weird life. A series of unfortunate events kept me in a weird state of mind, and I think that psychedelics helped me understand that there was something much greater than me going on, and it helped me see the magic in things, and it helped me see the magic in myself, and it helped me through some really interesting moments emotionally. I think that, it's a good place for some people to start, but like, as we are expanding as a collective, we're starting to realize you don't need anything but yourself to have these experiences. All of that is within you.
Absolutely.
It's already there. It's just waiting for you to accept the invitation. That's it.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like how I said earlier, divinity is within all of us. We all have the light in us. We all are the light. We all are love. We all have every answer we need in us already. And yeah, I would not be here today without psychedelics. Absolutely. It would be silly to think otherwise. I definitely haven't been, but I remember very clearly I would be on LSD and I would think to myself, as soon as I would get off of it, I could feel myself getting closer to what that felt like, until eventually I just kind of started feeling the same on or off LSD. And now it's actually evolved to a point I'm so tapped in and absolved per se now that LSD is too much. It just makes everything too open, because I'm already so open that now it's beyond what LSD could have ever shown me alone. But now it's too much to even have it show me with what I know. And it's just that beautiful extension of undeniably medicine at the right times for the right people at the right place. But if we can experience this absolution without it, then that's what living a fearless life looks like. That's what living with love looks like, and I'm excited to lead with that idea, the feeling.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
You're just, girl, what the fuck? Sorry to be cussing on your podcast, but
no, you can cuss on my fucking podcast. Oh,
hell yeah.
Goodness, yeah. We are authentically swearing, authentically getting passionate.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? It's better that way.
It is. So I think that covers the main general basis of absolution I wanted to talk about. I will likely release a video coming up if I can. I would really like to post a meditation online where it's just everyone in the comfort of their own homes. They can play the video, they can pause it if they want, just everything with someone's control, so they can tiptoe to the absolution. That's the goal right now. Create a fast, succinct but good way to tiptoe someone there. So there's no step too big where they don't want to absolve. It's just that gradual evaporation.
I believe in your capabilities.
Thank you. I'll figure it out. Anyways, was there anything else you'd like to share about absolution or ego death, or your thoughts on rebirth?
You know, I don't think I have much else to say. I do believe that, you know, I think I personally feel like absolution is something that one must. You know what? It's fine. I'll just let it be. I don't have anything else to say.
That's how you absolve. Just let it be. All right. Well, if you guys would like to check out Unity's podcast, it will be linked in the description. Please do check it out. It's really well done. I'm a huge fan. And I say these things with light, love, and clarity. Thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed day. Bye.
Bye.